Good evening, everybody.
Kavod Harav, how are you?
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I think we're going to a new chapter. Okay. So it says here, "V'lo yachaz be'adot tefillin v'lo sefer Torah." These are all right. So it says you shouldn't hold in your hand tefillin or sefer Torah. He means to say when you're praying. V'lo ki'ara mele'ah be'adot. Also, some kind of a full tray. V'lo sakin or ma'ot, or we don't want any knives there or any money. The kikar, also a loaf of bread, because these things distract him. Why? Because he's worried that they're going to fall from his hands. And this will make him distracted. But and his concentration will be disrupted. Mutar. So he says, but you are allowed to hold the lulav in for the holiday. Right? To hold it in your hand. Since it's a mitzvah, so that doesn't distract him. That's it. That's the whole thing. Okay. Let's go to Bet Yosef. So it says there, the Perek Mishemeto, right? The source for this is Brachot Chav Gimel Amud Bet. There was so Perek Lulav Gazul, also in Sukkah. Rashi explains, Tefillin is a Sefer Torah. These two things, because he's very distracted by holding these things. Why? Because he's worried they're going to fall from his hands. Beit bazu, and they're going to get degraded like that. Then the atom. So therefore, he's not concentrated well here. בתפילתו, in his prayers. וסכין מתיירא שמא ייפול ויתקע ברגלו. Also, regarding a knife, he's afraid that it may fall, and injure his foot. וקערה מלאה מעות. And also, if you have full tray of food, whatever, ma'ot in money, שלא יתפזרו, he's afraid that it may get scattered. Bekikar. So what about a loaf of bread? That if the loaf will fall on the ground, it'll become disgusting. So therefore, he doesn't want that to happen. So he's very protective, and that distracts him. Okay. So then he goes on. So over there, it says over there like this. So it says, right, that this rabbi was praying, and he had a lulav in his hands. And they objected against that, from what it says in the Braita, they shouldn't hold tefillin. So what's the difference, right? You may think tefillin and lulav, it's the same thing. Just like you can't hold the tefillin, so you can't hold the lulav either. So he answers there, Hatam lav mitzvah tarid behu. So he says there, it's not a mitzvah, and he's distracted by that. But here it's a mitzvah. And he's not distracted. So what does that mean? Here's Rashi explains, lav mitzvah le'ochazan, right? So he says, it's not a mitzvah to hold these things. When you're praying, why would you want to hold the tefillin or hold the Sefer Torah? So therefore, it's like a burden to him, The Fichach says, therefore, tarud b'masa'am. So he gets distracted by that. The kaved alav, and gets heavy also. It becomes like cumbersome, Masa'am, the fact that he has to hold it like that, and guarding it like that. But here, when it comes to the lulav, it's a mitzvah right now to hold the lulav. And since the mitzvah is beloved to him, and masa'ah v'shimura kaved alav, so therefore, guarding it and holding it is not really cumbersome. According to this, he says, Sha'ar devarim, other things, Shen b'hem hefsed, they have no loss. Im yiplu miado, they will fall from his hand. Mutar litpalel be'odan biado. He can pray while they're still in his hands. So yeah, some things are not going to be cumbersome. Some things are not going to be so distracting. So things like that you could hold. But these particular things are distracting and they're cumbersome. So he says, Rabbeinu Yonah, right? This rabbi writes in the Gemara, the mefarshe, right? Some explain the sakin v'kiara, v'chol hane the nakat lav. So they say, those, the ones that they mention in the Gemara, those items, those are just examples, but right, it also includes anything else. We're just talking about the common things that people usually hold. But the truth is, you shouldn't be holding anything. That's what he's trying to say. So he says, but the truth is that he shouldn't hold anything at the time of prayers. Only lulav. Since he loves the mitzvah, he says, this won't diminish his his concentration on the prayers. Good. So then he says, Katuv betumat hadeshen. It says over there, the Sefer Torah the Katane. When it talks about here Sefer Torah, Lav Dafka the Huadin says it doesn't. It's not only that, because really the truth is it applies also to other things. The whole Kitvei Kodesh, any other holy writings, Afilu Machzorim Utfilot, even prayer books and things like this. The im kol zeh, so he says, nevertheless, hitir le'choz machazor utfilah biado, but he does allow to hold prayer books in his hand. Litpalel b'hem, to pray with them. Techivan she'eno ochez otam. So since he isn't holding them, ela k'dei litpalel b'diuk, since he's holding them because he wants to pray in a precise manner, right? To read everything out of the book. So it says there, we don't say that he's going to be distracted by that. Regarding the issue of holding tefillin or Sefer Torah, these are all in his hand, his arm, whatever. Because he says over there, he's only holding it the shmirat for guarding it. Not to do mitzvah right now. But he says these things, since he holds them for the prayer itself, in order they should pray with the proper concentration, with diuk and right exactness, yafeh and masa'am kabed alav. So therefore, he doesn't really, think of it as a burden. So he doesn't get too frustrated by that. He doesn't get distracted. The dame lulav, it resembles like lulav. Mishum, the lekichato mitzvah. Why? Because taking it as a mitzvah at that time, in the holiday. Aminan the mitoch shechaviv alav. So we say that since he loves the mitzvah, and masa'am u'shminatam kabed alav. So therefore, he doesn't consider it to be something burdensome, cumbersome. And therefore he doesn't get distracted by that. That's what this rabbi says as well. Okay. And he goes on, that you're allowed to hold that prayer books biado in his hand, the time that he prays. So it says even to hold it after he started to pray, he allowed that. Like we're going to write in the chapter which is after this. Okay, interesting. That's the end of the Beit Yosef. Okay, so now we'll go to Shulchan Aruch. Says the Shulchan Aruch, when he's praying, he shouldn't hold in his hands tefillin, and also some other holy books, right? Whatever they may, any holy books, and also not a full tray of food, and also knife, also money or a loaf of bread. Why is that? Because he is fixated on these things, in order that he shouldn't fall, and he should get distracted. And this way, his concentration will be disrupted. But the lulav in its during the holiday, mutar le'achos biyado. You're allowed to hold it in his hand. Kivan she'achiza biyado hi mitzvah, because holding it is considered to be a mitzvah on Sukkot. And only trat bishvilo. So therefore, he's not distracted by that. Okay, good. Let's go to Bet.
How about the etrog? Can you hold that one too, or the fruit?
Yeah. So the truth is, when he says over here lulav, he's talking about the whole set. All the four species.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So.
Rabbi, but
Yes.
question on Sukkot, we don't hold in the whole prayer. But only there's a few times where we're holding. So is he referring only to those few times, like in the Hallel?
The truth is, if you look in the laws of Sukkot, right? Laws of lulav.
Yeah.
He writes over there somewhere that it's a mitzvah to hold the lulav when you pray Amidah.
Oh, okay.
But nowadays, you're right. We don't do it. The custom is not like that today. So, technically speaking, there is a mitzvah, but practically we don't do it today.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much the story. You don't see anybody doing this today. Even Maran, I remember, Rabbi Shalom. I saw him, on the holidays. He never held the lulav when he was praying Amidah. And probably you know why that is. Why don't they do that anymore? Because people need to hold their siddur nowadays. They don't. A lot of people want to hold a siddur, and people are just not. We're not so sophisticated today as they used to be. We're more like easily distracted, right? We're more primitive types of creatures. So it's hard for us to do, multiple tasks, multitasking, like, walk and chew bubble gum at the same time, right? They say it's hard to, some people can't do that. So same thing with us, it's hard for us to do both at the same time. So the truth is that people don't do it today. But anyway, right? As you said, we do it during the Hallel and the Hoshanas, right? There we do. Because over there it's necessary, it's like it's not optional. You got to have it with you there. More or less. So it's a little bit different there,
Yeah. Understood.
Yeah. So it says the Rama, in any case, but he says if he didn't have in his hand before he started, right? So then don't now, in the middle of your prayers, start looking for your lulav to pick it up, you know what I mean? It's not so crucial like that, so what do you need to now? Look for the lulav when you're doing Amidah, and that's not the proper thing to do. That's what he's saying. Ela im ken haya b'makom miyuchad shehu mukhan. Says unless it's in that special place, where it's supposed to be. So, in other words, where it is. It's in a unique place. Did you put it there? So then you can pick it up, and and that's no problem. But if you have to look around, scrounge around for it with your hands, that you shouldn't do. Okay. כדי להתפלל מתוכו. So then you're allowed to take it. It says, in order that you should be able to pray right from it. Okay, so that's the Shulchan Aruch. So we're done with this parak. That's it. So we'll go to the next one. Short parak. Okay, so it says in the Torah, לא יגחק ויפהק ואם עשאו לרצונו, הרי זה מגסי הרוח. ואם צריך לעשותן מתוך אונס, יניח ידו על פיליו ושלא תראה פתיחתו ולא יניח ידו על סנטרו, כדרך גסי הרוח, ואסור לו לרוק. Right, so the whole story here, right? So let's go step by step. First of all, number one, it tells you, right, not to yawn when you're praying, right? Don't do yawning. Another thing you don't want to do, disrespectful, right? It's arrogant behavior. Also, we don't want you to burp, right? Burping is not allowed. Right? Some people like to make noise, when they burp, to make sure everybody hears them burping, whatever. Like crazy people, not normal. So that's disrespectful to do that, arrogant behavior. So, that therefore tells you to refrain from that, right? So again, right, no yawning, no burping.
But you can't control a yawn, Rabbi. If a person barely slept, you're gonna be yawning.
It's true what you're saying. Sometimes you can't control it. So what do? We're gonna see that later on, but I think the solution is you cover your mouth. You know what I mean? This way, it's more respectful. If you can't hold it, so you cover it. We'll see that when we get there. So this is just the beginning. So okay, so right here you go, right? Just like I told you, if he needs to do it, right, he can't stop it. So then put your hand right on your mouth and cover it. That's what he says. So I shouldn't see your mouth opening, like some kind of a big pit, He shouldn't place also, right, as we mentioned yesterday, don't put your hands on your chin, right? Like you're some kind of wise guy, Always, these guys who put their hands on their chin, they think they're very clever, they think they're, oh, wow, they think the thoughts that they have in their head are like holy of holies, oh my God. Okay, so then he goes on. V'asu lo laruk o right im efshar lo. Also, right, you shouldn't spit, right? We talked about before about spitting in the synagogue, but now we're talking about spitting when you're doing the Amidah, right? Which is even worse. You know what I mean? So you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't spit. Again, right? Only if you can, you don't really need it, right? If it's possible for you to refrain. If it's impossible to refrain, what do you do? Oh, what was that? Jumped on me here. Okay, so it says, right? It's not possible. For some reason, it's not moving. That's very interesting. Why is that? Wow. Strange. Anyway, so if it's not possible for him not to burp, what should you do? Mavelio bekisuto. Right, so then you, he says, absorb it into your clothing. And if he's sensitive about things like that, there, it started to move again. Okay. If he's sensitive, it's disgusting for him to absorb it into his clothing. So what should he do? Right, throw it behind you, right? Chuck it behind you. All this malor to the left, not in front of you, not to the right. Okay, that's already something else, I think. Let's see a bit, Yosef.
Kavod Harav, can you take 2 steps backwards if you can anticipate it?
What? Which one?
The burp, no?
The truth is that that applies to a different issue, right? When the person wants to pass wind. So then he's supposed to take 3 steps back, right, and do it like that. But regarding these things, they're not so bad, so we don't require that.
And what about sneezing? Okay, allowed.
Sneezing is considered to be a good omen, right, for when you're praying.
Okay,
So if you sneezed, you should be happy, right?
Okay, thank you.
That's a good thing. They say, right, passing wind is a bad thing, and sneezing is good. So this way a person knows, right, if his prayer is going, where his prayer is going, depending on what happened to him in the prayers, right? Okay, good. So, let's see Bet Yosef. So it says here, as we said, right? Don't sneeze, don't burp. I'm sorry, don't yawn, don't burp, right? As we said. So he says here, Pashut Basot Perek Misha Metor. It's over there, Brachot. Kaf Dal Amud Bet. Rashi explains, Gihuk. What's Gihuk? פעמים שאדם מוציא מגופו לפיו נפיחה וריחה כריח המאכל שאכל. So he says, that's like when he burps, right? The smell of the food that he ate just comes up with that. That's burping, right? That's gihuk. So pihuk, what is that? חך מלקחיו פתח להוציא רוח הפה מלא כאדם שרוצה לישון, right? It's like a person, when he's drowsy, right? He yawns, right? Yawning. או שעומד משינה, or he gets up from sleeping. And, he yawns in the morning. Oh, yawns. ויש שדורשים, פיהק נוטריקון, גב הקים. פיהק פה הקים. Okay, whatever. Different explanation. והנה לפירוש ראשון, so going to first, he says, first explanation, Gihuk belaz rigoldar, right? So it turns out to be right that this is the way you say it in the foreign language, right? Whatever it is, some kind of language. Pihek, bostizar, right? Okay, this is probably like Old French or something. Perush Sheni, according to the second explanation, Gihuk belaz dishpirizar. Different explanation. Pihek kemo leperush rishon, and pihuk is like the first one of the other one. Mash katav Rabbeinu ve'im tzarich la'asotan mitoch ha'ones, and that which Rabbeinu said, if you need to do it like against your will, as you said, you have no choice. Yaniach yado al piv. So then he should place his hand on his mouth. Shelo tir'eh pitichato. So this way you don't see him opening his mouth, right? Which is not proper manners. Okay. Gam zeh sham, it says also over there in the Gemara. Chav Daled with bed. Kashehu mefahek yaniach yado. So it says when he yawns, he puts his hand right on his santero, on his chin. Rashi explains santero manton, right? That's your chin. Elaz shelo tir'eh ptichat hapiv. This way you don't see the mouth opening, right? Okay. That what you said, you shouldn't put your hand on your chin, right? Like the conceited people. So he says that's what I wrote close by, right? The Rosh writes there. Sharif Gores, the Rif has a different text. He wouldn't put his hand on his right chin at the time of his prayers. Looks like he's conceited. So he says, but if you're going to ask me, it seems to contradict over here, right? What the Tur wrote before. Shem tzarich lefahek yaniach yado al piv, v'zeh kegirsat Rashi. As if he needs to yawn, he should put his hand on his mouth. Sheyaniach yado al santero. He puts his hand on his chin. But then he said, don't put your hand on your chin, right? So, okay, so tell me which one you want, right? First you told me I should, then you told me I shouldn't. So there is to say, he says, you can reconcile. Even though he holds that the text of the Rif is the better one. Nevertheless, when he yawns, he does have to place his hand on his mouth. Like it says in Yerushalmi, right over there. Amar Rabbi Chanina, right, says this rabbi, Ani raiti et Rabbi mefahek umeatesh unoten yadav al piv. So I saw Rabbi that he used to yawn and put his hands on his mouth. Right, they wrote over there Rabbeinu Yonah, Rabbi Rosh, the Rosh. Aval kasher lama lo leRabbeinu, but it says still difficult. Why didn't the Tur lichtov? Why didn't he write velo yaniach yadav al santero? He shouldn't put his hand on his chin. Since he already wrote over there in chapter 95, Shem Rambam, the name of Rambam, he shouldn't put his hands on his his hips. It could be that it says the Torah doesn't explain that way, right? We're talking about hips. Like it says over there, B'Shem Rambam, the name Rambam, Ela Mefaresh, the Santero Hainu Lechi Atachton. So he holds that Santer means, right, your chin. V'chen Piresh Rashi. That's the way Rashi explains. The Sot Makot, the end of Makot, Al Peot Hazakan, regarding the the corners of the beard. Ve'echad lemata se'ar sheben hashibolet be'emtza santer shelo azid. Right. Also over there, when he's used the word santer, it's talking about the chin. Manton. Achen piresh gamken beperek mishemeto. It's also there. Explain like that. The santero hainu manton, which is your chin. Well, if Perush says, according to this, he says, al girsat tarif, regarding the text of the Rif, Achikama, right? This one needs to say, Lo yaniach yado al lechiav, mismoch lechiav, lechio, al yado, right? So he shouldn't put his hand on his chin and rest his hand on the chin. Shechen derek kasiroch, arrogant people do like that. Lasot, v'chen matzati b'shchatav Rabbeinu. I also saw he says that Rabbeinu wrote, Rabbeinu Yerucham, this thing. This is what he says. V'ri garis, right? The ri says like this. The text is like this. Lo yaniach yado al santero. Right? He shouldn't put his hand on his santer, right? As again, we said that's a chin, right? Anikra barbilia balaz. Okay, whatever. That's the way it's called in right, Old French, whatever. Okay, good. So let's go to Shulchan Aruch. So again, right, so same thing. Lo yikahek, lo yifahek, right? You shouldn't burp and shouldn't yawn. Ve'im tzarich lefahek mitoch ones. If he does need to yawn, right, no choice. Yaniach yado al piv. So then he should put his hand on his mouth, right, cover his mouth. Shelo tireh ptichato. We shouldn't see the opening up. Shelo yaniach yado al santero b'shat tefillah. So he says, right, so, right, he says in the parentheses, also a person should be careful not to put his hand on his chin when he's praying, right, which is like, conceited behavior. Right, as we said. Okay, very good. That's Aleph. So then we go to the next piece, which talks about the issue of spitting, right? So it says the Beit Yosef. First of all, let's read the Torah, right? He cannot not allowed to spit. Im efshalo, if it's possible for him to refrain from that, right? And then until the end, they should throw behind you. Pashut perek meshemet Torah over there in the Gemara. It says like that. Katav Rambam. It says the Rambam, the perek Dalet, the fourth perek. Zorko be'ado le'achorab. What you should do is throw it behind you, with your hands. Efshar di'ado lav dafka. So it says it could be that it's not talking really about your hands. Also, he can do is just turn around his face, and spit backwards, right? That's okay. But it says it's better to explain like this. It means literally you should throw it with your hands behind you. But you shouldn't turn his face backwards. And then spit. Because that's the way the conceited do, arrogant people. I also found over there, he says, Rambam explains, that was said in Gemara that you should spit behind you. Regarding spitting, like this Gemara. Same thing he says. But you shouldn't do it with his mouth. Mishum kalon rosh, kalut rosh, because of lightheadedness, right? It looks like, like joking around, joshing around. Avakasheli, he says the mashma, but difficult for me. He says why? Because it implies sha'istenisut shelo, that it seems like, because the fact that he's sensitive, so that it's something which is like, really extreme. That what do we want? What do you want? That the saliva should be absorbed into his clothing? So then how is it possible that he is considered sensitive from absorbing the saliva into the clothing? But at the same time, he's not sensitive, right, regarding touching it. So that sounds a little bit, right, like contradiction here. So it says it could be that what we say that throw behind you, we're not saying that you should touch it with your hands. Rather, you should use a handkerchief. So it says it seems like if he doesn't have a handkerchief, and he's also sensitive, to touch it, by his hands, so then he should throw it with his mouth behind him, backwards. But Rabbeinu Yonah Piresh explains, that which they said if he was insensitive, he throws it behind you. So he says there we see that the sensitivity is not because he has the saliva absorbed into his clothing. So, however, so then what's his sensitivity? He can't wait until he absorbs it into his clothing. It explains Yerushalmi, so he says the reason why they allowed him to spit during the prayers, in order that his glass should be clean. What does that mean? Glass should be clean. They shouldn't have you shouldn't be. You shouldn't be. What does that mean? He shouldn't be annoyed, right, or whatever. He shouldn't suffer during his prayers, and it comes out that he's distracted, right, by doing things like that. That's what says Rambam. So Rabbeinu Yonah katav. Also, this rabbi says, if he can't hold himself, right, without spitting, then it's allowed to spit. So he says better they should sit in cleanliness than being, out of breath, short of breath. Since he doesn't do it in a way of arrogance,
yeah.
כדי שיש שם. So again, right? One more time. So it says, "Mutar lo laruk sheyoter tov shehu sheyashev benekiyut." Better it should be sitting clean, cleanliness. Mishiyeh bekotzer ruach, then it should be short of breath. V'chevan she'eno oseh derech gava, and since he's not doing it right in a conceited manner, mutar laruk kadei shechaven diburo karawi. So then he's allowed to spit in order that he should have proper concentration. Umash katav Rabbeinu, and that which Rabbeinu wrote, right? The Torah. Or is smolo, what to his left? He can also spit to the left. But not in front, not to the right. Why is that? Hashud says it's obvious. Yerushalmi, Perek Mishemeto over there. Mashma lechora, so it says it implies that lachorav with his smolo shavim hem. So he says that behind you and to the left are equal. It also seems like that from the Torah. About Midivya Rabbeinu Yonah, but since from this rabbi, that wherever it's possible, to spit behind you, and you shouldn't do it to your left side. So the back is better than left. Katav al Yerushalmi. He wrote, right, about the Yerushalmi, that when it's not possible to spit behind you, then it's allowed to go to your left. Right? Also, they wrote, Talmid of Rabbeinu Yonah. So it seems he says that apparently the love smolo davka. It says not only the left, ela yamino shu smolo. It also could be the right, which is his left. What does that mean? Which is the left of the Hashem. Hashem's left. Like we say, regarding 3 steps. This rabbi says, Katav the Medivre Rabbeinu. And he says, from the words of Rabbeinu, lo mashmaken. It doesn't imply like that. Ela yaminu small dideh, right? It means his right, his left, karma, right? והוגשה לו מה ישנה מדין 3 פסיעות שחולק על כבוד יותר לשמאלו. So he says he had difficulty there. Question: what's the difference between this case and the case where you step back from the Amidah, and you're supposed to go first to your left and then to the right? So you're giving more honor to the left. Because that's the right side of the Shekhinah. So he's left it over as a tzarich iyun, which means he doesn't have an answer. Mori Avi Marav Ephraim Karo. So he says, my father, he says, right, Katav, Shamati Shiatam Mishum. He says, he wrote that he heard that the reason was because the Kaimalan, because we hold, and Sukkah Hey Amud Aleph, Meolam Lo Yarda Shekhinah Lemata Me'asara. That the Shekhinah never goes down below 10 Tfachim. In Kenes, as if so, Ena Shekhinah Keneged HaMitpalel. So therefore, the Shekhinah is not really in front of the prayer, right? The person who's praying. Ulefichach says, therefore, Chalku Kabod Le'amin Dideh. Therefore, they gave honor to this right side. When it comes to spitting, Shei B'Shat HaTfilah, which is at the time of prayers. When he takes 3 steps back, so the person distances himself from the place of his prayers. So that's corresponding to the Shekhinah. Fichach says, therefore, noten shalom lismalo techila. So therefore, what he does is he gives shalom to his left first, which is corresponding to the right, the right of God. But the Rambam only mentioned this, right? That he throws it behind you, the saliva. Only that, it seems like his reason is that since the Talmud, in our Talmud, it only says you should throw it behind you. So it implies that it's only allowed like behind you, but not to the sides. Whether it's the right side or left side. When you add these, so it seems to me, that's halacha. Katav Rabbeinu Yonah. Even if he's going to be home, be in a synagogue, right? I'm sorry. Even if there's going to be in the synagogue teben, straw, or gemi, or reeds, he still shouldn't spit on it at the time of prayers. And say, oh, well, it's covered anyway. Because when it comes, the straw or the reeds don't really help regarding sitting in the synagogue. The time where he's not praying. Because since he's sitting there, he doesn't have to rub it. Because the spitting itself is allowed, but you don't have to rub it in. Just from the side of proper manners. But it says the time of prayers, that they forbade to spit, and shouldn't do any in any case. On anus, unless he's like forced, and behind you, or the tzad small to the left, the katvina ad kanashon, like we wrote already. That's the end of it. Okay, very good. So we'll see Shulchan Aruch here. Says Shulchan Aruch, asur lo laruk, right? So you're not allowed to spit. If he's not able to hold it back, then he should absorb it into his clothing in a way that shouldn't be seen, shouldn't be noticeable. If he's sensitive, meaning what? He doesn't want to go, do into his clothing like that. So therefore, he can't really swallow it into his clothing. So what should he do? Throw it in the back of you. It's not possible to throw it behind you. Then to the left. But not to his right. And also not to your back, right? I'm sorry, to the front. It's forbidden. So it says that when it comes to this siman, he says later on in the chapter 123, shofech panav letzad smol, he turns his face to the left first, shehu yamin shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which is the right of God. Yesh lomar da'atam kivan she'ne'olam lo yarda Shekhinah lemata miyud. So it says the reason must be that since the Shekhinah never goes below 10 tefachim, im ken en Shekhinah keneged hamitpalel. So that means that the Shekhinah, the divine presence, is not corresponding to the prayer. The person who's praying. Okay. Pichach says, therefore, therefore they gave honor to the right side, when it comes to spitting, which is a time of prayers, but when he does 3 steps back, so then a person distances himself from place of prayer. He is corresponding to the Shekhinah, parallel to the Shekhinah. Therefore, he says he gives greetings to his left, which is to the right of God. Okay, so I'll repeat this again one more time. A little bit tricky. It says like this. Asur lo laruk. Not allowed to spit. If it's not possible, right? Shelo laruk, not to spit. So you should put it into your clothing, right? Absorb it there. Right? In a way that shouldn't be right, noticeable there. And if he's sensitive about that, he's not able to swallow it into his clothing. So then, right, spit behind you, not in front, in the back. So says the Rama, right? It's not possible for him to do that, to spit in the back. Then should do it to the left. So the back comes first, and then the left. But don't spit to the right. And also, nevertheless, right, all the more so, don't spit to your front. That's true, because it's forbidden to do that. Says that which we said in this chapter 123, they should turn his face to the left at first. Which is the right hand of Hashem, the right side of Hashem. Yesh lomar da'atam, we should say that the reason is because since the Shekhinah never came below 10 tefachim, so therefore the Shekhinah is not going to be in front of the prayer. So therefore it says they gave honor to the right side. to his right, when it comes to spitting, shehi b'shat tefillah, which is at the time of the prayers. When he takes 3 steps back, האדם מרחיק לעצמו ממקום תפילתו. A person distances himself from the place of his prayers, והוא כנגד השכינה, and he's next to the Shekhinah. לפיכך says, therefore, נותן שלום לשמאלו. So therefore, what he does is he gives greetings to his left, שאז הוא כנגד ימינו של הקדוש ברוך הוא. Which is, right, when it says greetings, it doesn't mean greetings, it means עושה שלום במרומיו, when he steps back, right? If it's in front of his right, Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? Not if, I'm sorry. He does it to the left side, which is the right of the Hashem. Okay, just 1 second. So just right to get to this point in the Ramah over here, a little bit difficult to understand, right? He says like this, that he should try to, as we said, go to the left side. Right. So we said, right, that what's the best thing to do? If you can't hold it in, spit towards the back. If you can't do that, spit towards the left. So regarding that, the Ramah comes and says, but wait a second, didn't we see in chapter 123 that you should turn first to your left side when you step back from prayers? So that seems to be the opposite of what we're saying here. That here the left seems to be more holy, and right here, over there, the left seems to be more holy, and here the left seems to be less holy. So then how do we reconcile that? So it says the Ramah regarding that, we said the reason is because since the Shekhinah never went down below 10 Tfachim, so therefore the Shekhinah is never really corresponding to the prayer, the person who's praying. So therefore we're not really concerned.
What does that point mean? It doesn't correspond to the person praying, Shekhinah. I don't understand that point.
You know what it means? It means like this, right? That the Shekhinah doesn't come down below 10 Tfachim, right? There's a pasuk like this, Hashamayim la'Hashem ve'aretz natan livnei adam. Oh, you ever heard this pasuk?
Yeah, it's in Halal, right?
Right. It's in Tehillim. So that means that the rabbi's darshan, that means that the Shekhinah never comes down to the earth. It always stays in heaven. So what does that mean? It never comes down below 10 Tfachim, which is like up to your waist, right? So therefore, says the Ramah, since we know that the Shekhinah never comes down below 10 Tfachim, that means it's not really right next to you when you pray. In other words, if you're looking down, right, the Shekhinah is not there. You got it?
Yeah, but waist upwards, more than 10 Tefachim.
And that's exactly what we said yesterday. Remember we said yesterday, when a person prays, he shouldn't look up because he's gazing at the Shekhinah, right?
Right.
Down. Why? Because you're not gazing at the Shekhinah when you look down. You understand?
Yes.
So this is what he's saying over here, the Ramah. When you're looking down, you're not gazing at the Shekhinah. And that's why you're allowed to spit.
And that's what we do left.
לפיכך, חלקו כבוד לימין דידי בבקיקה שהוא בשעת התפילה, אבל כשפוסע שלושה, right. So let's go step by step here. I just want to get this language straight over here. So, right. So, therefore, he says, since it's not there, the Shekhinah, so when it comes to spitting, they prefer the right side. I'm sorry, they prefer the left side to spit there because they want to give kavod to the right. But he says, when you're stepping back 3 steps, right over there, he's distancing himself from the place of the prayer. And that's already he says corresponding to the Shekhinah. And therefore it says Lefichach noten shalom lesmolo. He gives first to the left, which is corresponding to the right side of Hashem. A little bit tricky, this one, right? This whole thing. You know what? We'll review it tomorrow again. This Ramah, right? And we'll try to finalize this idea. If something doesn't add up, right? To whatever, it's a little bit tricky.
I'm understanding that the Shekhinah is not going to go down as low as the earth where the person is.
It goes down there, yes.
Okay, and I also understand that, if it's your left side, anatomically speaking, is the right side of Hashem. I understand that part.
Yes.
So if the Shekhinah is not coming less than 10 tefachim, what does it matter if we spit to the right or to the left, as long as it's not the front?
Yeah, so it's a little bit, unclear, the language of the Ramah. So we'll review tomorrow, B'ezrat Hashem, and we'll try to get it a little bit better.
I think you stepped out of
Right now, I'm a little bit dizzy, whatever, and I can't think straight right now. So I need to get a fresh mind, to get into this.
I'm just thinking that you step out of the energy field that you left. That Shekhinah is there. You're moving away.
Yeah. Okay.
Area, and when you move, it's like you're signaling that area that you're gonna do something. When.
Okay, so we'll try to finalize it tomorrow. We'll try. I still don't get the whole thing. I'm not really not 100% clear. B'ezrat Hashem, come tomorrow. Okay, Chazak Baruch, be blessed with wealth, health, happiness. See you tomorrow. Be holy and happy, and Hashem should rebuild the temple very soon. B'ezrat Hashem. Therefore, Shema, whoever needs therefore Shema, Amen, Amen. Kol Tuv.
Thank you.
Baruch.